There are a few images and their corresponding stories that have popped up over the course of sports history and have the staying power to live on forever. Everyone remembers Kirk Gibson raising his hand in excitement when he hobbled around the bases following his epic Game 1 homer in the 1988 World Series. And of course, there was the legendary Michael Jordan shrug in the NBA Finals, or Vince Lombardi getting carried off the field by his Green Bay Packers after leading the team to its second consecutive championship to kick off the Super Bowl era. These stories, however, are all of a legendary sports figure in triumph. The photos capture their greatness and tell their stories to the next generation of sports fans. But sadly, there's a much more modern photo that even these kinds of iconic photographs are rivaled by. A photo that is the antithesis of Super Bowl glory, and that is none other than the infamous New York Giants boat picture. Yeah, that boat picture. It's hardly hyperbole to suggest that this photograph may be the single most memorable in all of modern sports. Even in an era where social media and new technology have led to a flood of candid, behind-the-scenes looks at the star athletes in sports, this image stands alone, because not only is it insanely recognizable and became a massive news story, but also because it's absolutely destroyed a very promising young team that was developing in New York. So let's take a look back at the incident in question and the ensuing fallout. Buckle up because this one is a doozy. The story starts back in the year of 2016. The New York Giants were coming off of a tough 6-10 season that saw them miss the postseason for the fourth consecutive year after winning the Super Bowl in 2011. The Giants ownership made the tough decision to move forward without Tom Coughlin, the team's legendary head coach, who had led the team to its last two Super Bowl championships and oversaw pretty much the entirety of the Eli Manning era. In what was a relatively messy divorce, the team's brass decided to instead move forward with Ben McAdoo, a first-time head coach. This was a big decision to make for the organization, not just because Coughlin had ties to the organization that went all the way back to the 1980s, but also because it was very much the twilight years of their future Hall of Fame quarterback's career. Eli Manning was set to turn 35 during the 2016 season, and the reality of the situation is that there was simply no time to be wasted in trying to get number 10 back to the Super Bowl. Even though he had never actually missed any time due to injury, he'd been banged up pretty good over the past couple of seasons, and he was starting to show some signs that he was on the decline physically. The team had done a good job of building out a solid offensive group around him though. They had Victor Cruz, a longtime Giants receiver, leading the charge as a strong veteran presence. Cruz had struggled to stay on the field in recent years, playing just 6 games over the past 2 seasons, but at the very least, he was someone who had been there before, and someone who could show the Giants' 2 budding star receivers, Odell Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard, the ropes. But even though taking a chance on a first-time head coach at this point of the franchise trajectory was considered by many to be a risky decision, the organization decided to move forward without Coughlin, and at first, the decision looked to be paying dividends. The Giants began the season 2-0, and their defense was starting to show the signs that it could be a special unit. They hit a tough skid, dropping 3 in a row after their hot start, but the team ended up rebounding well and rattled off 6 straight wins for the first time since 2010. New York finished the season strong, winning 3 of their last 4 games, including a big-time win over divisional rival Dallas Cowboys, who were 11-1 at the time. Between the team's excellent defense that would have 5 All-Pros by the time all was said and done, and their exciting young core of wide receivers that was helping to extend Eli's career, Giants fans started to think that this team had all the makings of the next great Super Bowl winning team. So expectations were high for the Giants heading into the postseason. Even though they finished the season 11-5, they still had to go through the wildcard round because Dallas ended up having such a great season. But nevertheless, the team had a reason to celebrate. For the first time in 5 seasons, they qualified for the postseason. And following that victory against Washington, the New York receiving corps decided to act on it. And a few of them flew down to Miami to tear up the city. They went to Club Live, a well-known establishment in the South Beach nightlife scene, and then the next day, they went out on a boat with singer Trey Songz and a few models. Here's how Cruz, who was on the trip, explained the trip. It was right after a game, and we were just about to go into the playoffs. And although we had the day off, we went to Miami. We had a good time. It was New Year's Day. We came back the next day, didn't break any rules. Once the pictures were posted, the media was quick to eat it up and everybody and their mother had a take. Initially, the reaction was pretty mild. but once the Giants rolled out onto Lambeau Field and got curb stomped by Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers 38-13, the story took on a life of its own. The media absolutely destroyed the Giants receivers, and no one was spared. People felt that maybe had the receivers been more focused on getting ready for their playoff matchup instead of out partying with celebrities, that they would have been able to put forth a better effort in Green Bay. While I don't know how true that is, as the Packers were pretty damn solid that year, there's no denying that the optics were not great. That, in addition to the visibility that comes with the social media era, made the story go crazy. The Cruz acknowledged that too, saying, "If this was 1999, no one would have known about the trip. We would have went, had a great time, come back, and then had we won the game," that's the part that kind of bothers me too, "if we won the game, they'd be like, go to Miami every week. Apparently that's the good luck charm." The fact that we lost left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And that bad taste in their mouth was exasperated by the subsequent meltdown that the Giants had following the loss to Green Bay. According to a worker at Lambeau Field, Greg Wolf, Beckham responded angrily to Wolf's coworker, telling him to calm down, and replied by saying, "F off," when the employee spotted Beckham standing in front of a huge hole in the sheetrock of the stadium before he walked back into the Giants' locker room. The entire situation was a dumpster fire, and the fallout essentially sent the organization into a complete and utter tailspin. A season later, head coach Ben McAdoo was fired, and the team's general manager Jerry Reese was sent packing as well. Over the course of 3 successive seasons, every player besides Sterling Shepard involved with the infamous boat picture was out of New York. Victor Cruz, who was towards the end of his playing days anyways, was released. Roger Lewis Jr. was waived. I mean, even OBJ, who was a budding star in the league, ended up getting traded to the Cleveland Browns. And all of a sudden, a team that looked like it was on the verge of giving Eli a similar storybook ending to his older brother Peyton had completely crumbled in a way that even the most doom and gloom Giants fans could not have possibly imagined. In the following 56 games after the picture was taken, the Giants had gone 13-43, which is quite a fall from grace for a team that was consistently knocking on the door of Super Bowl contention. And none of the players involved have fared too well either. Cruz signed a 1-year deal with the Bears and never made the team, before subsequently retiring to take a network job as an analyst. Roger Lewis has bounced around from practice squad to practice squad and hasn't been on the field in a regular season NFL game since 2017. Sterling Shepard, who had caught 8 touchdowns during that 2016 season, only hauled in 9 total touchdowns combined over his next 3 seasons. And even OBJ, who was far and away the most talented player of the bunch, has struggled with injuries and simply has not been the same kind of player on the field. All in all, this might be the single most unfortunate picture to ever hit the internet, and it's hard to believe how far everyone has fallen as a result of it. But what about you? Do you think the Giants receivers were wrong for going on that infamous boat trip? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.